Hi girls, gays and days, I'm Maddie, and I want an excuse to talk about LGBTQ history. For starters, I'm gay, I've been out since high school, and gay people have always been around. We've just reached a point where most are comfortable coming out. But how did we get there? For starters, gay rights wouldn't be what they are today without the civil rights movement and representation in modern-day media. Black civil rights inspired the fight, representation helps normalize LGBTQ members in society, and black members of the LGBTQ community have had the biggest impacts in the fight, notably with the Stonewall riots. LGBTQ rights would not be where they are today without good representation in the civil rights movement. Before we get into this more thoroughly, I got a couple of disclaimers. All the resources I use in this video are going to be in the description somewhere, and I'm going to be using queer, gay, and LGBTQ interchangeably. Are we good? Okay, good. Let us gather around this metaphorical campfire and start at the beginning. I want to get this misconception out of the way. Stonewall was not the first fight in the gay rights movement, but was a huge turning point for the fight. The fight was going on for a while, even dating back to 1932, when John Pittman published Prejudice Against Homosexuals, comparing black issues to gay issues. As well, it also goes back to the Cold War with the Lavender Scare that purged gay employees from the US State Department. Around this time as well, being gay was seen as a psychological disorder. Gay men were seen as deviants with the goal of turning American youth gay. They were degenerates, moral weaklings, and menaces. You'd think in 50 years homophobes would get better insults. Anyway, back on topic. The government has also discouraged gay people in the only way they know how, suppressing them with laws. Most of the major laws and legislation ban same-sex marriage, cross-dressing, keep this in mind, we're gonna get back to it later. And even went as far as homosexual parents losing custody of their children. Heck, according to LGBTQ Rights and Activism by Curry Steffen, in Florida alone, about 100 teachers were fired for being gay from 1957 to 1963. If you were straight passing, good for you. Stay in the damn closet and keep that relationship hidden or you will lose everything. And I'm not exaggerating that. Some even went as far as having fake marriages to cover up the fact that they were gay. LGBTQ history, much like anything that wasn't white or Christian, wasn't talked about or mentioned, and even if you were a straight ally, you didn't speak up or you were just as bad as them homosexuals. The AIDS crisis didn't help much either. If you were gay and got AIDS, it was seen as deserved, with Patrick Buchanan, a politician and speechwriter, writing in 1984 that gay men, quote, had declared war upon nature and now nature is extracting its awful retribution. Slowly throughout the years, we see more and more acceptance in the community, leading to 2015 where gay marriage is legalized.
American dream. Best country in the world. New York, New
Just because the gay community was beaten and bruised over and over didn't mean there wasn't some pushback. Throughout the years, the community arranged marches and incidents and took many inspirations from the civil rights movement to help their cause. I mean, the fights were pretty similar when you think about it. They eventually formed an idea that we need to do the same thing because it worked for black rights. Heck, in 1966, in the Compton cafeteria riot, there was a huge overlap of people organizing for racial and economic justice and queer and trans rights. They also took inspiration from the March on Washington and had the first Pride Parade in 1970 in New York City. And they had picket lines with gay is good instead of black is beautiful, and the tipping point and major catalyst of it all was at a popular gay bar called the Stonewall Inn in 1969. The inn was a safe haven for those who were kicked out, ran away, or for just general solidarity for gay people since 1967. People had always had problems with the inn because of the clients, let's be real, but on June 24th and 28th, police had enough at least. On the 24th, police raided the inn, confiscating liquor and arresting many customers. And then on the 28th, the police raided the inn again, arresting anyone who refused to show IDs or refused to go in bathrooms to verify their sex. The arrests led to physical resistance and eventual riot against the police with protesters throwing anything and everything at police. You can thank black trans woman Marsha P. Johnson for throwing that first brick, because without her, we wouldn't have the rights we would today. So now that we're done talking about the past, let's talk current-ish. What about black queers? Well, they have similar experiences like everybody else who is queer, but with an added spice of racism if you aren't white or white passing, because many don't embrace it due to systematic culture. It's more of a don't ask, don't tell, which seems to be a common theme throughout history. A lot of this also goes back to redefining marriage, since many have a strong emphasis on religion, faith, and the general concept of marriage. I'm not a religious person at all. Hell, I went to church one time in the Midwest. My younger sibling lost their gender. My twin sister came out as pan and polyamory, and I came out gayer than how I went in. But hey, it's easy to see how religion plays a big part in the Black queer experience, especially when those who tend to be extremely religious will out those in the closet, but those who are in the closet are at risk for violence or worse. One woman mentioned in the film the new Black LGBTQ rights in African American communities.
I mean, I was outed to my entire church. They really wouldn't let me participate in certain things unless I repudiated my gay, and I wasn't able to do that. And so I lost a family that I had spent 12 or 13 years creating.
I think it's a good time to mention here that this experience is not just Black communities, it's everywhere. You see it on the news, videos, social media posts. It's just really important here, as church has been the center of civil rights, education, and information for many in the Black community. That being said, allowing gay marriage was a huge step for not only the LGBTQ community, but also the Black community. It allowed both groups to be treated more fairly and not worry about how you have a family when you're marginalized. I mean, both groups are, it's just easier now than before, but also leads to more support for the community and their rights. So I think I've said enough about this topic, so let's move on before this video gets too long, okay?
Everyone on this app is like, gender envy this, gender envy that. I feel so much gender envy. Where's the gender gluttony rep?
Yummy gender.
Representation in media is a fairly new thing for the LGBTQ community. By new, I mean the earliest being the 1990s with sitcoms like Will and Grace having openly gay lead characters. Still, compared to the mid-90s, we have a lot more and a lot better representation. I do want to mention that while I was researching for this, I found a source talking about gay representation in an anime called Yuri on Ice, which I'm a fan of, but the source was just not really relevant to my argument at all, and I only really figured it out as soon as it mentioned Archive of Our Own, fanfiction.net, in a megaverse. And if you don't know what any of that is, good, don't search it up. Be saved from this internet lore. And this is a scholarly journal, by the way. I just thought it'd be funny to mention it here. Anyway, back on topic. Just like civil rights, representation has a huge help in the LGBTQ community, as it helps with shaping political attitude towards sexuality and minorities in general, especially affecting the views of more impressionable younger individuals. Some of the earliest examples are Will and Grace, like I mentioned before, and Ellen DeGeneres on TV, film, radio, and internet being some of the best ways to view media and, quote, remain powerful socializing mechanisms, as well as face-to-face contact. With positive representation, there's always going to be negative ones, with biggest and most harmful ones being called queerbaiting. Queerbaiting, according to the article Queerbaiting in TV and How It Hurts the Community, is television or movie writers including queer subtext and or sexual tension between two characters to 1. Attract viewers from the LGBTQ community, and 2. Claim that their movie or show is, quote, progressive and inclusive. Queerbaiting actively is harmful to the community, and most of the time it's used to trick or tease the community and for lack of better words, exploits the community by using us as a marketing tactic to gain viewership. One of the most common ways of queerbaiting is stereotyping the community, and most of the time it's just flat out harmful, offensive, and perpetuates the fetishization of gay individuals. On top of all that, since representation, not just good ones, is hard to come by, even by today's standards, many queer individuals like myself will just watch the shows because some representation is better than none. There are those that will also drop shows if there is queerbaiting, but ultimately it's up to the individual. Either way, queerbaiting or not, good representation helps the community become more normalized and helps individuals see themselves in media.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.
So I am 4 pages deep into this thing, and I don't think I have much else to talk about, so I'm just going to wrap it up here. I could talk about the misogyny and how it has a connection to both civil rights and the LGBTQ community, but it isn't really part of my argument. I suggest researching it if you are interested, though. I could have also brought up detransitioning, but I also don't think that's really relevant. It's more of an outside perspective that a lot of people use against the trans community. But hey, again, it's all really cool stuff. Anyway, the civil rights movement and representation are important. Many queer individuals have the rights that they do now because of the influences from the civil rights movement, and many people are more accepting of the LGBTQ because of the positive representation in media. As well, other young queers also see themselves positively in some cases like me. They realize they're gay because of the positive representation. As well, we wouldn't have a lot of the rights that we do today without the civil rights movement. Anyway, any of my sources are going to be linked in the description, and I'm gonna go draw self-indulgent gay art, get some sleep, drink some water, and have a great day. Bye-bye! So I'm recording this with both OBS and QuickTime Player just to see if I can, just in case something f***s up with this, because I really don't want this to f*** up. It's 7:45 at night. This project is due tomorrow. I'm gonna see what editing I can do today, so I can do the art tomorrow. Yippee! Hi, girls and gays, and wow, I immediately f*** it up, and even went as far as to but those who are in the closet are at risk for violence or worse. One woman mentions in the film the new black LGBTQ rights in it. Wow! What is this word again? I need to look it up. Repudated, I think.